Even though this week's chapter was pretty short, at least compared to what Morikawa had been delivering lately, it was incredibly interesting. So today, we're going to break it down into two videos. This one will focus on Takeshi Sendo and the big reveal involving his boxing style. Later this week, we'll talk exclusively about Ricardo Martinez, who gave us a lot to analyze and speculate on. This is all about chapter 1492 of Hajime no Ippo. We pick up exactly where we left off. Sendo is at the hospital visiting his grandmother. There, his former teacher tells him to withdraw from the fight. She'll take care of his grandmother. He should focus on what's coming. After all, the opponent he's about to face isn't someone you can beat unless you give it absolutely everything. Sendo accepts and quietly walks away. What follows is striking. Morikawa puts so much emphasis on Sendo's hands. We see them clench. Then we get flashbacks of him holding his grandmother's hand and then pressing his hand gently to his face. In that panel, his grandmother seems to be crying. It really hit me. And as Sendo leaves the hospital, we see him with one hand over his face, wiping away tears. A silent moment that speaks volumes. We cut to Ricardo Martinez's hotel. But what really matters in this scene is what Bill Stewart, Ricardo's coach, reveals. We flash back to a sparring match between Sendo and Ricardo. In that sparring, Sendo actually knocked Ricardo down. Back then, Bill and the rest of Ricardo's team claimed it was an accident. Ricardo tripped, Sendo fell on him. That's why he hit the floor. But Ricardo himself said Sendo landed a punch. He said it with a smirk, like he was joking or teasing his coach. Was he being serious? Was he actually proud of Sendo for landing that shot? And remember, when Sendo got back to Japan, he told Ippo two things. One, he had landed a punch on Ricardo. And two, if he kept improving, he believed he could do it again. Back then, it didn't quite make sense. It sounded contradictory. Ricardo said it happened, but with a smile, almost mocking. Was it genuine joy from being surprised or just Ricardo messing around? So here's what really happened. As Sendo launched his punch, he suddenly opened his hand and connected with his pinky. That added reach, just a couple extra centimeters, could throw off a precise boxer like Ricardo. It reminded me of Malcolm Gato's trick, but way more spontaneous and unexpected. That torque, combined with Sendo's natural strength, was enough to fracture his own pinky. When I read that, I was stunned. That sparring session happened just months before Sendo's match against Alfredo Gonzalez. My first thought was, are you kidding me? Sendo fought Alfredo with a broken hand? But the timeline makes sense. There were 3 months between sparring and the actual fight, so the pinky may have fully healed. At least, according to a quick Google search. If you know more, drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And don't confuse that pinky fracture with the knuckle injury Sendo got during the Alfredo fight. That one was from punching him square in the forehead. 2 different injuries. This also helps explain why Ricardo chose to fight Wally first. It wasn't just a warm-up, it was also to give his hand time to heal. Because without a doubt, Ricardo wants to face Sendo at his best. To be honest, all of this might have felt like a stretch if it weren't for that scene where Sendo told Ippo he managed to connect. That tiny piece of dialogue now feels massively important. Some people say it's exaggerated, that Sendo could knock Ricardo down with just a finger, but honestly, if a punch hits the right spot, even a weak one, it can ruin you. Let's not forget, Sendo is the most powerful featherweight in the series. We've already seen what he did with an open palm, slapping his student into the wall. It's that same idea here, only this time aimed directly at the world champion. A lot of fans are wondering, is this slap technique Sendo's secret weapon? Personally, I don't think so. I think it's just a preview of the madness he'll unleash in the ring. Back at home, Sendo is in his room talking to his cat, Tora, reflecting on how tiny his grandmother's hands are. He remembers her fist could fit inside his palm, and now he swears he'll take that title with those same hands. The only thing Sendo believes he needs to win is to land a hit. Simple as that. And clearly, This chapter puts a massive spotlight on Sendo's hands. There's even a full page. That looks like it was drawn by someone with a hand fetish. So much detail, so many hand shots, but it's clearly intentional. His hands are larger than average, and when he stretches them, he gains unusual reach. That makes his attacks deceptive and way harder to predict. Both fighters, Sendo and Ricardo, look deep in thought that night, wrestling with doubts. The next day arrives. Osaka is waiting. But before we finish, let's talk about something crucial: Sendo's possible retirement. It's been hinted at before, but now it feels crystal clear. If Takeshi Sendo retires, it won't be because he lost. It'll be because of what happens to his fists. He might end up destroying his fingers, his knuckles, his hand, trying to land those risky blows on Ricardo. And if Ricardo blocks with his elbow or forehead, like Alfredo did, it could end him. Honestly, I picture something like Deku from My Hero Academia, where every punch cost him a finger. As wild as it sounds, Sendo might be running out of fingers, one devastating hit at a time. And yet, with each chapter I find myself believing in Sendo more and more. I'd love to see him win, I really would. It would be a shocking twist, since 99% of us are convinced Ricardo will win, but maybe, just maybe, Morikawa wants to prove us all wrong. And seriously, the idea that Sendo floored the world champion with just his pinky, that's insane. It reminds me of Ippo's 1 centimeter punch, when he knocked down Miyata with the lightest graze. But let me ask you something. Do you think this kind of strategy is even possible? Fighting in a way that knowingly risks the destruction of your own body, not by accident, but by design. Can a fighter really step into the ring prepared to sacrifice his fists, one punch at a time? Honestly, if it were anyone else, I'd say no. But if it's Sendo, then yes, I believe it. Because that's who he is. The man who doesn't just fight to win, he fights to prove he belongs, to turn instinct and emotion into something worthy of a world title. And maybe, just maybe, this kind of display is exactly what Ippo needs to see. Not a clean, technical match, but a raw, desperate clash driven by heart. Sendo isn't just showing us a strategy. He's showing us what it looks like to love boxing so deeply that you're willing to give your body to it, blow by blow, joint by joint, until there's nothing left but your will to stand. That kind of fight. It doesn't just earn applause, it inspires. And if you ask me, this is what will bring Ippo back. Sendo's passion will burn so brightly, it'll set the ring on fire. And when it does, Ippo won't be able to resist the flames. He'll burn too. Anyway, if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to subscribe for more Hajime no Ippo content and discussion. More theories are coming, and part 2 of this chapter, the Ricardo analysis, will be up soon. Good night, champ.